Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right into things today because we are about to completely dismantle pretty much everything you thought you knew about pop culture's favorite Greek hero. I mean, when you hear the name Achilles, you probably picture this perfectly invincible warrior, right? An unstoppable force of nature who was brought down by one singular, tragic anatomical flaw. Well, what if I told you that the absolute most famous thing about Achilles wasn't even in his original story? Or, get this, what if the mortal warrior we all know was actually worshipped as a literal god of the sea by ancient sailors? Buckle up, because the real source material is wilder, a lot darker, and honestly, infinitely more fascinating than the bedtime myths we've all been told. It's a question that has literally haunted human history for thousands of years. What brings down the seemingly invincible? How do the most powerful, striking, and successful figures among us inevitably find their ruin? It's a concept so deeply embedded in our collective psyche that we've actually named the entire phenomenon after the man we're discussing today. I mean, an Achilles heel has come to mean a critical point of weakness that leads to a massive downfall, especially in someone who is otherwise incredibly strong. And of course, the actual Achilles tendon in our bodies is named following that exact same legend. We use this phrase in business, in sports, and politics. We're constantly bringing this ancient mythological figure into our everyday modern reality. But where did this idea actually come from? Well, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with 1, the myth of the heel. Then move to 2, birth in early years. After that, 3, the wrath of Achilles. Followed by 4, love, loss, and death. Then we'll uncover 5, the cult of Achilles. And finally wrap up with 6, a complex ancient legacy. Okay, starting off with section 1, the myth of the heel, debunking the legend. What's absolutely fascinating here is the literal etymology of his name. Achilles, or Achilleaos, combines the ancient words for grief or distress and people or soldiers, so his name literally translates to he who has the people distressed. From the very beginning, long before he ever even picks up a spear, his identity is tied not just to glory, but to deep sorrow. Grief just follows this guy everywhere. When he's acting rightly as a leader, he brings distress to his enemies. But when his anger is misdirected, he brings profound grief to his own people. And this brilliantly illustrates the biggest misconception about him. In Homer's Iliad, which is the oldest and most famous account we have, Achilles is completely mortal. In fact, in Book 21 of the Iliad, he is actually wounded. An enemy spear grazes his right elbow and he bleeds. The whole story of his mom dipping him in the river Styx, leaving only his heel vulnerable, yeah, that doesn't even appear in the surviving literature until the Roman poet Statius wrote the Achilleid in the 1st century CE. That is nearly 800 years after Homer. For the ancient Greeks, Achilles wasn't tragic because he had some secret magic weakness. He was tragic because he was entirely mortal, knew for a fact he was going to die young, and stepped onto the battlefield anyway. Moving right along to section 2, birth and early years, a bizarre origin story. So he's the son of the mortal king Peleus and the sea nymph Thetis. According to various myths, Thetis desperately tried to make him immortal. In the later Roman version, sure, she dips him in the river Styx, but in the older, much darker Greek versions, she covers him in ambrosia and literally puts him in a fire to burn away his mortality, until his dad walks in, freaks out, and stops her. After that intense infancy, he's sent off to be educated by Chiron, the most righteous of the centaurs, who teaches him medicine and warfare. And then we get to his late youth. Knowing a prophecy said he would die at Troy, his mother actually hides the teenage Achilles on the island of Skyros, disguising him in women's clothing to live among the king's daughters. Yes, you heard that right. The most terrifying warrior in Greek mythology tried to dodge the draft by wearing a dress. He's only discovered when Odysseus tricks him by sounding a trumpet alarm, causing Achilles to instantly grab a spear while all the actual women flee.
So the crucial question is, when he finally does go to war, what did he look like? According to our ancient sources, he was a seriously striking figure. Homer describes him as tall with unmatched strength, boasting a long mane of what the Greeks called xanthos hair, which means yellow, blonde, or tawny. The writer Philostratus noted he had these intense, amber, lion-like eyes. And later Latin accounts add that he had wavy chestnut hair and, surprisingly, was mild in manner despite being an absolute nightmare in battle.
Which brings us to section 3, the wrath of Achilles, the nightmare of Troy. The sheer scale of his military presence is staggering. When Achilles arrived at Troy, he wasn't just some lone, wandering warrior. He brought a massive fleet with him, 50 ships. And inside each and every one of those 50 ships were 50 feared Myrmidon warriors.
He commanded an elite, highly organized strike force that struck absolute terror into the Trojan defenders.
Yet, ironically, the greatest story of the Trojan War isn't really about his fighting, it's about his refusal to fight. The very first lines of Homer's Iliad set the stage perfectly. Sing, goddess of the rage of Peleus' son Achilles. The entire epic is driven by his anger. After the Greek commander Agamemnon disrespects him and steals his captive prize, Briseis, Achilles just withdraws his troops. He literally sits in his camp and prays for his own allies to lose, just to prove to them how desperately they need him. His wounded pride brings absolute devastation to his own side.
But everything flips when his beloved companion Patroclus is killed by the Trojan prince Hector. Achilles' wrath pivots away from Agamemnon directly onto the Trojans, and it is terrifying to watch. Let's break down his vengeance. Step 1, he chases Hector around the massive walls of Troy, not once, but 3 full times. Step 2, the goddess Athena tricks Hector into finally stopping to fight. Step 3, Achilles slaughters Hector without an ounce of mercy, famously telling him he wishes he could eat him raw. And finally, step 4, in a shocking violation of ancient norms, he pierces Hector's heels, ties him to the back of his chariot, and brutally drags his corpse through the dirt.
Now let's explore section 4, love, loss, and death, the human tragedy. To truly understand his wrath, you have to understand his immense love for Patroclus, which has actually been debated for millennia. Homer presents their relationship as this ultimate model of deep, loyal, platonic friendship. But by the 5th century BCE in Athens, the interpretation had shifted. Philosophers like Plato and playwrights like Achilles viewed them through the lens of their own culture, interpreting them as intense, intimate lovers. Now, while ancient Greek culture didn't use our modern terms for sexuality, it is universally clear that Achilles' bond with Patroclus was the defining emotional anchor of his entire life. When Patroclus died, the human part of Achilles essentially died right there with him. And soon after, his physical death followed. Just as Hector predicted with his dying breath, Achilles is killed at the gates of Troy. He's shot by Paris, but with the divine guidance of the god Apollo. In a beautiful, deeply haunting final request, Achilles' ashes are mixed with the ashes of Patroclus in a golden vase, uniting them forever. A massive tomb is built for him on the coast for passing ships to admire, and when Odysseus later travels to the underworld, he meets the shade of Achilles, who famously declares that he would rather be a living slave than a dead king. That brings us to section 5, the cult of Achilles, a god of the sea. Because, historically speaking, for ancient Greeks sailing the Black Sea, we have to ask a pretty crazy question. Did Achilles actually die? Or did he become something much, much bigger?
Okay, so historically speaking, real-world archaeology completely subverts the poetic myth here. Deep in the Black Sea, on Snake Island, which was also known in antiquity as Laius, or the White Island, this incredibly intense cult developed. The sailors there didn't view Achilles as some dead guy moping in the underworld. No, they worshipped him as Achilles Pontarches, literally Lord of the Sea. We've actually found inscriptions and votive offerings proving he was venerated on par with major Olympian gods like Poseidon and Apollo. Ancient travel writers even reported that he had a temple on this island that was miraculously cleaned every single morning by white seabirds dipping their wings in the ocean. Sailors forced to stop there would offer sacrifices, and it was said that Achilles himself would appear to them in prophetic dreams to guide their ships safely. The mortal warrior of Homer had evolved into a localized, incredibly powerful deity. How cool is that?
Finally, section 6, a complex ancient legacy, hero or monster.
How he was remembered entirely depended on who was telling the story. To the Greeks, he was the ultimate pan-Hellenic hero. Alexander the Great actually claimed descent from him, carried a copy of the Iliad everywhere he went, and even held games at Achilles' tomb to emulate his glory. But to the Romans? Well, the Romans traced their own mythological lineage back to the fleeing survivors of Troy. So looking through the lens of Roman writers like Virgil and Horace, Achilles wasn't a hero at all. He was a savage, merciless butcher who ruthlessly slaughtered Trojan men, women, and children.
Achilles is essentially a mirror, reflecting the values of whoever is reading his myth. He is grief and glory, mild-mannered and monstrous, mortal man who bled, and a sea god who guided sailors in the night. And it leaves us with this final, provocative thought to take away. Are our greatest strengths inextricably linked to our most devastating flaws? Could Achilles have truly been the greatest warrior in history without the raging, uncontrollable passion that ultimately doomed him? It's a paradox that ensures we'll be talking about the son of Peleus for another 3,000 years at least. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the myths you think you know.